podcast. We're happy that you're here to join us for a quick chat on relationships and dating over 30.
Ooh.
So everyone, like at least we showed up for our second podcast, and then hopefully the viewers have showed up as well.
Hopefully somebody's listening to this besides us.
They ran to the second episode.
Yeah, they ran. And we love all the feedback we got from the first podcast.
Yeah, thank you guys for
the
the kind messages. It was really nice to read.
Right. So what did you say our topic was again, Amanda, for this one?
Dating over 30 and relationships.
Right. Okay.
It's going to be juicy, guys. Buckle up.
For sure.
So why don't we start off by, okay, is that how we want to do this? Like just go into a question?
Well, yeah, this is our podcast. You can do whatever you want to do, Amanda.
Well, I have a question. What do we want as women? What do we want from a partner? Because that changes, right? From when we were in our 20s, what you think you wanted? Because I know I didn't want that no more. So now that we're older.
What went wrong there? That's a whole different podcast.
What didn't go wrong there?
That's what went wrong.
But I think it's like, first of all, we should look at ourselves. Like, I think as I like matured from 20s into 30s, like my taste buds changed. Like I didn't like Brussels sprouts and now I'm in love with Brussels sprouts. So it's just like everything in my life like changed a little bit. So maybe we start out with like, where are we now? Like assessing, like how do we assess where we are now, and like how dating would help take us to like the next level in our lives. Probably that's where I would go first. Like let me look at where I am and what I am looking for first.
That's a great place to start.
I agree. What are you looking for? I think this applies to everyone. You know, if you are ready to have a partner, where are you? And what is your end goal? What does that look like? Because not everyone wants to get married. That's not their end goals. If you do, great. If you don't, fantastic. But everyone's paths looks differently. So what does that look like for you specifically?
And there's no wrong or right path. I think sometimes we get caught up with what the world's telling us, like social media, this is what it should look like. The truth is, there is no person that knows what this should look like besides you, because this is your life. This is your precious time here on earth. So like, how do you want to spend, the rest of your life? And who do you want to spend it with?
Yeah, you have to really sit down and ask yourself, what is going to make you happy?
Right. I got married in like my early 30s. So for me, it was just like not really dating, but I that's what I wanted. So you guys are right. So you have to know what you want, because some people's agenda is not marriage, but whereas like mine was like, I wanted to get married in my early 30s. I wanted a child, wanted 4 kids and stuff like that. So that was kind of like my agenda. But then my 30s quickly ended into like, divorce, mid 30s. So then I was like, well, this is not what I signed up for. So for me, it's kind of like dating in my late 30s into now like where I am right now in my 40s. So which is very different from what it looked like in my 30s, which is so crazy.
Kenise, you have to tell us, is it better in the 40s?
Yeah.
I think so, because now I feel like I had no clue what I wanted in my 30s. Now that I'm sitting in my early 40s, well, now mid 40s or late 40s, I guess at this point, I feel like I wish I knew what I knew now back in my early 30s. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go back and change it. I really enjoy my experiences, the good times and the bad times. Like I wouldn't give up any of that experiences, but I feel it's important for those of you guys that are watching here in your late 20s, 30s, and you're like, I really, want to date. I'm not sure. I'm not getting the right guy. Every guy, it's like, they're all like crazy. They're all like messed up. Like, I feel what you're thinking right now is not what you're going to be thinking when you're in your 40s.
So what are we going to be thinking? What do we have to look forward to? Tell us.
What's the good stuff?
Well, I think you're definitely more mature in kind of like where you want to go, what you want to do with yourself. Like, who are you? Like, I think at this point, like, I know who I am at a certain level and where I want to go for the next 30, 40, 50 years of my life. When you're in your 30s, you're just like, I have everything. Like, I have the rest of my life, 50 is so old. Those are really old people that you're in like an old age home, and really it's not. You really are like, I have really enjoyed my 40s so far because I've come into my own. Like I know who I am. Nobody dictates for me what I should like and what I don't like. So like right now I've been single for a long time and that's by choice. And that's we can talk about it, but I feel like for me I don't believe in settling because I try to settle because I can get finding a guy is easy, right? I feel it's very simple
Of
to find a
course.
guy. There's millions and millions out there, but I don't believe in like dating below my expectations, and a lot of them don't meet my expectations, you know, in one way, shape, or form. I'm not looking for a perfect guy. I'm not looking for perfection, and some of us may be looking for perfection, and we'll never hit perfection. But I just, a lot of the men I feel are always behind me, like in the way I think, in my like intuition, in how I want to, how progressive. Like I feel like I like to be progressive. You know, I like to think outside of the box. And if he's not thinking outside of the box, he's like, oh, well, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, I just can't deal with that. Could be just me. Maybe I'm the only one here, and all the viewers are like, oh, yeah, she's crazy. That's why you stay single.
I don't think so. And I think you hit a really interesting point where expectations, what are the expectations for us girls over 30 that are still single, that are looking for their partner? What does that look like in your 30s, 40s, 50s? Again, it varies person to person, but what do you want from a partner, For Kenise, we got a little rundown of what she's looking for. Someone to match her caliber because she has a lot to
Right.
bring to the table. And I totally agree with Kenise, where if you have a lot of value, we all have a lot of value as
Right.
women, don't settle. Do not
Right.
do not accept the bare minimum. The bare
Right.
minimum is the bare minimum, but you don't deserve the bare minimum.
Right. But
I
Shawnee, sorry, just a minute, really quick on your no value. Like you won't believe how many women we just undervalue ourselves so much
Hmm.
that it's hurtful to watch beautiful, smart, intelligent, progressive, women just undervalue, devalue themselves and just feel like, they don't bring anything to the table, which is not the case. Like you said, every woman brings a lot of value to the table and they should try to get somebody to match that, or they're at a higher value. Sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
no, but you hit it on the head because I think in your 20s, you're still figuring out you. That's the truth, you know? And I think in the past, we were told like, yes, in your 20s when you're supposed to get married, but the truth is you're still figuring out who you are as a person. And I guess you're still learning your worth and learning your value. And I think after you get to that 30s, you're getting more comfortable in, I guess, in your own skin. Um, and I think understanding your value and what you do bring to the table. And sometimes a person may not fully bring exactly what you bring, but you have to add value to my life. And I think that's the one thing in my 30s, mid 30s now that I fully understand. And it's not only relationships, but you need to either be making me better in some way, you need to be
Mhm.
making me richer, happier, younger,
Right.
all of the above, you know? But you have to be doing something in my life. And if I'm not growing with you, then I know how my personality works. Oh, I'm going to grow by myself and you're going to be left behind. And that's just not going to
Mhm.
work. So I think that's a
Mhm.
really important part.
And it's so funny. I feel like all these guys, they have a radar on you. As soon as they sense you moving on without
Mhm.
them, that's when they come back. They always, girls, ladies, whoever's listening to this, they always come back.
Yes.
When they see you stepping into your light,
Hmm.
and when they see that you know how much you're worth and what your value is, I promise you they're gonna be coming back on their hands and knees. So you have to believe that for yourself. You have to really
Mhm.
truly believe that you are worth more than, what a guy, presents to you as, you don't take it. Don't take the bare minimum. Allow more for yourself and a partner.
Because if you don't, they won't. Like if
Mhm.
you don't hold your standards high, and we I think at some point we all struggle to figure out what are our standards? Do we have standards?
Right.
And understanding that more as you get older helps you hold yourself accountable. Like, you know what? I'm not going to accept less from somebody else to make you feel better as a person. Because I'm not
Mhm.
doing you any justice either if I'm just going to like make you feel like you're the best thing out there when in reality you need work, right?
Right.
Right.
I look at like women on like diamonds, right? So you don't need light to shine on a diamond for it to sparkle. It just naturally sparkles. So we all have a natural sparkle, but you know when you're going shopping for like your engagement ring, for instance, and you're looking for like that perfect diamond to wear on your finger, they usually say like when you elevate the diamond, it's elevated on the prongs so that the light would go through and the light is coming from the bottom. And a person in your life, whoever that person is that you're looking for to date, should be elevating you so that
Mhm.
you can further shine. That doesn't mean that they're bringing the light and that you're now shining with your brilliance because they're in your life. Like Amanda said earlier, you need to be able to shine for yourself and you just naturally glow. So somebody in your life will just elevate you, whether it's a guy, whether it's like friends, you know, whatever relationships you have, that person should elevate you, bring that value so you can even be more brilliant in your glow.
And spread the sparkle, right?
Now, what do you say to some of our viewers that are over the 30 club, right? And they are feeling that extra pressure of a timeline, which is something very real for, females.
Right. Like pressure for what? Marriage or pressure like kids
Like,
or
let's say
pressure
some
like
of our
family?
viewers, their end goal is to have children, for example,
Right. Mm-hmm.
right? There is an unspoken biological clock
Clock.
on women. Um, and a lot of our viewers may be also, feeling that, as single women, 30 and above. And if they want to have children, if they do want that like end goal, what what should they do?
Hmm.
It's a tough one because I it grinds my gears when men are like 50 and 60 and they're with their 30-year-old partner or wife. And and she's pregnant, right? Because she's younger and all that stuff. But us women, we don't have that luxury because granted, we can go the route of freezing our eggs and all that good stuff. But the truth is the later we choose to have kids, forgetting all the risks that are we know that's involved, it's the less time we have with them, right? And I think that's like one of the things for us to keep in the back
Hmm.
of our minds. But I feel like we can't let that pressure force us into, okay, that's why
Mhm.
we have to start dating, we have to find a man, we have to get pregnant. Slow down.
Yeah, I feel like with the pressure, the more you pressure yourself about that aspect, you are going to pressure yourself into the wrong situation, into
Hmm.
the wrong
Hmm.
relationship. And
Hmm.
that's the last thing you want, you know?
Hmm.
Really, there are options nowadays, right? Where women can freeze their eggs, science has come a long way, but don't allow the pressure to really define, okay, I meet a guy, he's supposed to propose in a year, and then I have to pop out my first child the year after. Like you do that and without really getting to know your partner and the person that you're with, and you're not gonna find yourself in a very good position.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I've heard once you like the idea of having a child and a family is a beautiful thing if that's what you want. But let's talk about the realities. Kenise, you have a daughter. How does a relationship change once a child enters the equation?
Well, we waited 3 years before having a child. And that was kind of like, not because everyone, the first thing you do, it's like, Kenise and whatever, sitting in a tree, KISS, and then she first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes Kenise with the baby carriage. So everybody was asking, like, oh, when are you guys going to have your baby? Like, literally, the wedding wasn't even over. And people are like,
Oh my
when are you going to
goodness.
have your first baby? Like, when are you getting pregnant? Like, that's like the next question, right? So I think we waited 3 years because one, we wanted to enjoy life together as like just him and I. So we traveled a lot. We had a great time. I wouldn't change that. I do tell couples like when you get married, don't have a baby, don't rush right into it. Now, of course, I was like 29, 30 at that point. So I was in my early 30s. If you're on the older scale of 30s, 40s, then of course, you want to like hurry it up a little bit. But I wouldn't rush right into it, because having a child really changes the dynamics of your relationship, because now it's just the two of you guys. And then now you have this little one that takes up a lot of your time. I was like having like food today in the mall, and a couple had like 4 kids, and they were all like maybe like a year apart or 2 years apart. And even my daughter was sitting there, she was like, oh my gosh, because they're like, mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, and it was just like, it was like 4 kids, like, back to back to back. It just takes all it takes. You're not sexy looking anymore. You forget about dating each other. You forget about, putting each other first, because you have this child, that really one child that really takes a lot of your time. They really do. They're cute, they're adorable, they're sweet, they smell so good, but they suck up a lot of your energy and a lot of your time. And you really have to work extra hard as a couple to maintain a balance. Like, you cannot be like a couple where it's like, we don't go on vacations because of the baby, we don't do date nights because of the baby. Like, you need to be able to, I know successful marriages that have babies like right after they get married, but that's because like Friday nights or Saturdays, they take the baby over to the grandparents, and they're like, this is our night, we're going out, or we're going on a long weekend, or we're taking a vacation together. I'm not saying to abandon your baby, but you guys still have to grow, because remember, you're both growing, but with this child. So sometimes in the relationship, he may grow at a different rate that you're growing. And then what happens? You guys are not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to constantly be growing together in marriage. And that's why I see a lot of my friends, their marriage fails because they're growing, which is great, but they're not growing at the same rate together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
And they say, what do they say? You have your child, you have your spouse, you put the child first, and the child is the focus for 18 years. And then when the child's up and leaves the nest, you are at that point, living with your partner, and you don't even know who they are at that point.
You're like living with a stranger.
It's like living with a stranger, and you don't want that for yourself. How scary.
And I don't think people really talk about it a lot. Like, and we're talking about all of this because the goal is, if you do want to date and you do want partners and husbands and wives or whatever, you have to date with intention. But no one talks about how hard it gets, and that it's not easy to sustain the relationship after the honeymoon phase, whether or not you're looking to have kids right away or wait some time. That takes work. And I think that's a whole conversation by itself. Like, how do you make that work
I
with
feel like it's another podcast episode.
That's a whole different, yes, let's write that down.
Let's make a note of it.
Write us and let us know if you guys want us to do a spin-off.
Yes.
Yes, please message us. But let's back up a little bit, because the topic of this show is dating,
Dating.
30 plus. Where do our viewers who are single watching this, where do they meet these people? Where do you meet your partner?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing.
No way.
Yes, I was. I certainly was. I was like, where do I meet them?
Where do you meet these people? I mean, feel free to drop it in the comments if you have the
I was
cheat
hoping the
code.
viewers would help me, like tell me where I need to go meet these guys.
If you have the cheat code, please let us know. But I've heard a lot of horror stories about these dating apps. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but it's been really insane what I like, these stories that I'm hearing of women meeting these guys, and they seem okay, via text, whatever the case is. And then the first date, the person is a complete weirdo.
A friend of mine met someone on an app, and then she's like, I refuse to date after this. I'm like, I know, like it's
What
scary.
happened? Did she
So
say what
she
happened?
started talking to him, and it's fine. He seems normal. And of course, as you're getting older, you're like, make sure you date people that have kind of figured out themselves a little. So you think if you date a little older, they're okay.
Newsflash, it doesn't matter what age they are. They're all
Yeah.
They can
That's so
still be
immature.
psycho, guys.
I'm
So
here
be
to
careful.
debunk that myth that the older they are, the more they have it together. That is
No,
not true.
not true. So she's talking to him and all that stuff. And then like things started to, she got a vibe. So she started kind of falling back a little. But I think they had gone out, so he knew where she lived. Then randomly one day, she
Oh my
comes
gosh.
out and she sees him in the car, just just staring at the house.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, first of all, this is a whole different podcast as
Yeah.
well. Like doing dumb things when you're dating.
Women,
Do not give a
our
man your
viewers,
address. Meet him somewhere, please.
please do not give, especially like first, second, do not let them know where you live.
He's not
That
picking
is,
you up. No, you
No.
drive, you meet him at the restaurant, you take an Uber. Please don't like, because we cannot underestimate, like, oh, it's not going to happen to us. It can happen to anyone. And so I tell her, I'm like, please, if you're going to go somewhere, or you're going to meet somebody, just send me their name, description also, in case I need to report this to 911. Like my friend is missing.
yeah, that's important.
Yeah,
No, we
no.
laugh, but that's important. Share your
Right.
locations with your
Yes.
friends and your
I
family.
have hers now.
There you
Yes.
go.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
But
really important because like the craziness you can see, like I know people, the apps are the new way to go, but you really have to have discernment when you're talking to these people.
For sure. For sure. You have to be smart about it too. So
yeah, and I
totally.
guess this is not meant to deter people from like
No,
going
no.
on the
Right.
apps. I've heard of people finding success and finding their spouse on a dating app. Might be like
Kudos
anomalies,
to you.
but
No, there's a lot. I think, Shawnee, I think there's a lot more of people that have found their partners and they're happily married from an app. There's like a cute little story. Like they're older, his wife passed away, and he went on like I guess like a senior app. Like he's like in his
oh,
60s. So they were telling me their story. And because I was like, where did you guys find each other? Because he's an engineer, like retired engineer. And then so he was like, his wife passed away, and I know how much he was in love with his wife, but he didn't want to be alone. So he went
Mhm.
on the seniors app, and the first day he met his now wife. And then I was like, you tell me your story. And she was like, Kenise, like every one of my friends is telling, she's a retired tax attorney from New York. So they live in North Carolina now. But she was like, the first day I put my profile up, he was the first picture to show up.
Aw.
And like, so like magic can happen. Magic can happen, on a dating app.
I think so. And I think it
yeah.
comes back to like one, you as the person, you need to be intentional and you need to know your purpose. Like why am I here? Am I here? Let's be honest. Am I here to hook up? Am I here to just like meet people and get
Mhm.
my feet wet in this dating business? Or I'm here to find
Mhm.
a lifelong type of partner. And
Mhm.
once you know why you're there, you can start when you're having these conversations, weed them out. Like
Right.
Mhm.
like
Right.
if you get any one of those like funny pics like that they like to send, okay,
The
no, that's not
funny
happening.
pics
Like
are the inappropriate
the
pics.
inappropriate pics. No, okay, we're not about that. Block, move on to the next person. But I think the app is a way that people are meeting partners and it can work. It's just, I think you just need to be a little, smarter in how you have those conversations.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we said in the beginning of this episode, where you have to figure out what you want. If you want to hook up with someone, by all means, go for it. You know what I mean?
Be safe.
But make sure what you're looking for aligns to the person that you're entertaining. Because if you are someone that is looking to be intentional, take your relationship with someone to the next level, such as like marriage, serious relationship, then don't settle for anything else. Don't be uncomfortable with being alone, that you settle for a situationship. And I think
Oh no.
that's like a new
Yeah.
terminology, the situationship, where you don't know what you are with this person. And a lot of times it's the females that are accepting the not so good end of the stick because they're very uncomfortable with being alone.
Mhm. For sure. I have a friend who's like does dating coaching at one point, but she just going back to like the dating apps, like she met her husband. We should have her on the show. She's fantastic. I love her. So she met her husband on a dating app with like Coffee Meets Bagel.
Oh,
Coffee
Oh
I know
Meets
Coffee Meets
Bagel.
Bagel.
yes.
Yeah.
Is
You were
it
on
still
Shark
around?
Tank, no?
I don't know.
I
I
I
think
don't
thought that was one
know.
of the good ones.
Yeah, and she was looking for an older guy, but her methodology of using the app was very different. Like she only went onto the app like oh, she only went onto the app like on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the app.
Okay.
So she didn't go every day because she
Okay.
felt like it became very daunting when you're like Xing out, like you're swiping left, so, and then so she only went on like Tuesdays and Thursdays. She said like the dating was very intentional. There were specific questions that she asked. If they couldn't answer the question, no, like she was like, I never went on a date with jeans, because she was looking for an older gentleman. She was, yeah, like she was in her late 30s. But she wanted a guy who was older. She doesn't want kids. She knew what she wanted. And so she ended up, he is like in his late, when they got married, he was in his late 50s, already married. He already had, a daughter, but she was like, all of her dates, she wore a black sophisticated dress. It was a sophisticated place. They didn't just go to Starbucks. She was like, because the guy she wanted to walk in the room and he already envisioned her as his wife that he could take to sophisticated places. Like that was her agenda. And in a few months, because she was super intentional about it, she found a man of her dreams, got married in some penthouse in New York City with like 20 people there, and is
Wow.
living happily ever after now.
That's
She
beautiful.
literally lived out her vision board. Like she brought it
Totally
to
did.
life.
Totally did. Totally
But
did.
that's
And
because she worked on herself too. She
she did.
presented what she wanted him to perceive. Like I
She
want,
rebranded herself.
yes.
That's what, when we spoke, like she said, Kenise, she had to rebrand her image, her look, because to attract the guy that she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing is wrong with that. And I think that's why when we started off, we're like, okay, who are we in this? What do we want in this? And if you want X and you know that in order to get to X, I need to work on myself in certain areas to attract the X, then you have to be willing to put in that work. It's not a one-way thing, and I think it makes sense to take time for you. Ladies, date yourself first. How about that? Date
That's a good one.
yourself
That's
first.
a good one. I'm gonna
I
write that
like
down.
that.
I know that just came to
That
my
is
mind.
like the
I love that.
subline of this episode.
Date yourself for. I love that. I'm gonna write that. I like that.
And I think when you do that, then you figure out, because that's how you're going to learn what you like. And then how do I want to present? Like maybe there's something you learn quirks about you. Like, okay, I like this quirk. I'm going to keep this quirk. But then maybe there are things that I want to refine and change. Like I want to try different styles. And that's how you kind of formulate who you want to present as. And ladies, just because you did something like last week doesn't mean you have to continue to do it and perpetuate that image if that's not what you want. It has to align with the person that you want to be at the end of the day.
For sure. I think
I will
that's
get
great.
off my soapbox now.
No, you're like,
That was pretty good.
I think that was very good. I like the whole date yourself first, because I think you just summarized kind of like what I'm doing right now. It's just like I'm just not picking. Well, I think my ship has sailed. I think I've
No.
embraced
I
being
don't think
single.
so.
No,
I
can you
think so. I
stop?
100%.
No.
Like I don't even know how I would, like, sometimes I think like I don't have to report to anybody. I don't have to tell anybody where I am. I don't have to tell anybody where I'm going. It's just like and I do hang out with, my friends are very similar to me. Like they're also very single and they could be with people, but like, so
I think you'll find the right person or the right person will find you. Maybe there's just so much more you have to do, like like to accomplish in yourself, because you're an overachiever also.
but I like the whole date yourself concept. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's something great, really great to start if you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s right now.
And it's never too late to do that. And even when you get into those relationships, don't forget about yourself. Even if you have the label of girlfriend, fiance, wife, mom, whatever, don't forget about being a person in it, and just always you can always get better. If you want to get better, you can always do things to make yourself happy, because I think it's when we stop dating ourselves, that's when we start probably pouring too much into one area and we kind of lose who we are.
Right.
And ladies, you don't want to do that.
No, you don't.
Then you start you start accepting less because you lose your own value. You don't see your own worth anymore. And I think we've all had that experience at some point. And it goes and comes sometimes, but you just have to, I feel like as you get older, you have to like create a very solid foundation for yourself and
Right.
don't lose that.
So I guess my closing remarks would be like what Shawnee said: have your vision board, envision it, write the vision down, what you see in your relationship, where are you right now, what are you looking for, I used to have a laundry list of exactly what I'm looking for, because I think it's important, and if you speak over it, you can manifest it, and that person hopefully will come your way at the right time. But just keep plugging along. Don't give up hope. Don't forget yourself in the process, like Amanda said, and enjoy life. Life is too short, like Shawnee reminded us the other day. Life is too short. So just enjoy it. Whether you're by yourself, you're with your friends, your family, or if you're dating, enjoy it.
I think my closing remarks would be don't settle, don't let the pressures of society's timeline get to you. Really be comfortable in your own company. Really and truly, like Amanda said, date yourself, fall in love with your life. Act like you're the main character in your own movie. That is how you should be living your life. Because at the end of the day, when you are doing what's best for yourself, whatever is meant to be and whatever is supposed to align with you will align with you. You don't want to rush the process. You don't want to, put yourself in a position where you did rush and then, it just doesn't work out. And then overall, you're the main character. Live your life and don't settle.
I love that. And I think my closing remark, besides dating yourself, is a little mix of everything that everyone else has said already. Figure out what you want and write it down. That's what I did. When I became single again, did not expect to be single again. I wrote it down and I was like, this is what I want in a person. And later on, what I did, the different thing, and I will tell you to do this earlier, is like figure out where you are in that scale to achieving that life that you want, and be honest with yourself. Be honest about your shortcomings, be honest about what you're doing really well, and work on that. Date yourself and work on that stuff. Like, it's not only about treating yourself to spa days. No, it's about getting real with yourself, calling yourself out, and holding yourself accountable. And even when you backslide for a moment, you have to catch up again. So do the work. You have to do the work. And to everyone's point, you then attract the person that is meant to be in your life. And if it doesn't work, okay, that doesn't end you, because you're always evolving and working on you.
Great words.
Mic drop.
Thank you guys for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you guys. See you next week.